I did $1.1 million in commission, $1.3 million total in my third year, which is pretty decent considering zero ad spend, right?
The real estate biz is drastically changing, and modern real estate success can't be learned in some old course manual. This is everything they never told you about real estate, where industry leaders expose secrets to success, contemporary lead generation, and how to dominate social media. All moderated by your host, the real estate goat and queen of social media, Carrie Sauvé.
Welcome. Right. I'm your host, Carrie, and we are back for season 2, episode 2 of Everything They Never Told You About Real Estate. Thank you for listening and subscribing. Today, I have a guest on. He is a colleague and a friend, is Shawn Getty of the Getty Group. He is, he's in the 50 top teams at EXP, which is huge. And tell me a little bit, Shawn, about alpha agents. Like, I've been reading about this. Like, what are you doing around alpha agents? I like the name, so.
That's funny. It seems like this is getting a lot of play everywhere, actually. So what part do you want to know? Like, do you want to know like what it is, kind of where it came from?
Yeah.
It could be all kinds of stories.
It's got a story.
Okay. Oh my God. Sit down. grab some popcorn. So the super, I guess like the confined version is when I started in real estate, I started EXP, and back then there's only 50 agents at the brokerage. So there's only one mentor. This is all going to loop in, I promise you.
Okay.
There's only one mentor. And I was dead broke when I started. I was 6 months behind on my bills. My car was getting repoed. Like I was selling my furniture for food. You heard some of the story, right? So that's how I started in real estate. And we had one mentor at the brokerage that was able to be assigned to us. So I met with them, and we're sitting down for breakfast, and I'm like, hey, just before we order, like I don't have money to pay for this. So like we're good here. Like you're treating me to breakfast. They're like, yes. I'm like, okay, otherwise I'm having water. And so we're sitting, and I'm like, okay, I need to sell a house today, like right now. So like whatever it is that you tell me to do, I'm going to get up out of this chair. I'm going to go do it because I do not have time I don't have the luxury to take time. So the first thing that they told me to do was I started in March, and the first thing they told me to do was a pumpkin drive. And I'm like, pumpkin drive? Like in October, hand out pumpkins? And they're like, yeah, pumpkin drive. I'm like, okay, I said I need to sell a house today, not half a year from now. And I promise you this will all loop into alpha agents. And I go, where do you want me to get these pumpkins from? Like, do I steal them? Do I grow them now? Like, what do you want me to do? Because I can't pay for them, right? So that was the first thing that they told me to do. The second thing they told me to do was hang out at coffee shops of communities where I want to work and talk to people coming and going and see if they want to do real estate while they're buying their coffee. I'm like, okay, so that's the tutelage I had. So from there, I just had like, I said, I'm not doing the mentor thing. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to learn on my own. And I literally Googled, how do you sell real estate? Like, how do I sell a house today? And I just started seeing all the things that were available to me. And this is back in 2019. And I started seeing a lot of American stuff. And there was like door knocking, cold calls, warm calls, open houses, all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I see the activities that I'm supposed to do, but I don't like the activities that I'm seeing. Like, it's just very aggressive, very not my style, very not customer service based, very like, you're getting closed today based. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to start doing it on my own. And I did. I remember I went door knocking, and the first time I like knocked the door and the person answered, and I'm like, oh shit, they answered. And they're like, hello? I'm like, hello? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, do you want to sell your house? Like that was literally the first door that I knocked, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's how I didn't know anything. But I worked like crazy, and I did a ton of repetitions on stuff. And within a couple months after I started prospecting, I did 17 deals in 1 month in my rookie year. I ended up with 44 deals in my rookie year. So after I had that big month, I started giving back, and I'm like, okay, there's going to be other people that feel the way that I feel. So I'm like, there's got to be people that feel the way that I feel. So I just put a post out there and said, if anybody's feeling the way that I feel, if anybody doesn't know what to do it, 10 months into business, but I know what I got to do this. So I'm just going to give it free. I did. I started a course out of it. Not a course, but like and 4 people signed up for it. And I didn't think I was going to sign up. So that night I created the first day. It went so well. The second night I created the second day, third day, I was trying stuff. And from there, after the people were so happy about all the information that they got, that they actually know how to do business, that started like actually filling my cup. And I was more excited about that than real estate. It saving my life. So I did that for 18 months straight. I didn't take one day off. I did that course 3 times a day. So from like 5:30 a.m. till about 11, I did that course. And then I started doing my real estate. And that turned into what we called the Guaranteed Success Plan, which was, again, a free course that I gave to anybody that wanted it. We had about 2,000 people come through. Mm-hmm. No pitches, no nothing, like just straight, here's the goods. And I started getting too busy, so I had to shut that down, but that kind of turned into our downline. And then I was at a conference with John Cheplack, and here's where Alpha Agents came to be. John Cheplack was challenging us on our downlines. And they said, is that something did you build something that you would sprint to? That not that you would join, but that you would actually sprint to, you as a high performer? And at first I said, yes. I'm like, of course. And then this is a very small room, like 15 people in the room. And if you know who John is, he's a huge deal. To be in a small room like that with him is big. Mm-hmm. And everybody's going around talking about what they're doing for their downlines and what they're giving for their agents. And I'm like, oh man, I would not join mine. I would join theirs. So I actually just stopped. Yeah, for real. I'm like, this is better. Like everybody's was better. I thought I built something amazing, but it wasn't, right? And I learned so much out of that room. So anyways, stopped attracting completely. So 0. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to build something that I would run to. And if you know my production, just to help everybody out. So like my first year, 44 deals in a very tough market. Second year, 103 deals. Third year, 186 deals. All organic, all straight through my DMs, no outward work, nothing. I did $1.1 million in commission, $1.3 million total in my third year, which is pretty decent considering 0 ad spend, right? So I'm like, okay, I understand. I have to take everything from here and I have to put it down into something that's super digestible and super easy to use and super easy to consume. And that's everything. So like how I talk to buyers, how I talk to sellers, how I get people motivated that are waiting, how I get people to wait longer. Like literally everything that you could possibly imagine. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. And you might have to edit that out. And like how I prospect, right? So like how I organically prospect, because I had to do everything for free because I was so broke, right? So everything that I did for free ended up being infinitely better than anything I've ever come across paid. Of any of the seminars, coaching sessions, everything I've learned, the free stuff still outperforms the paid. You can't scale it to a team, but for a solo agent, you can easily. Mm-hmm. So that's where Alpha Agents started to come from. And what happened is there's so many people that don't want to join the brokerage. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it a course as well that's for sale. And it's literally like every single thing that you could possibly think of, like everything that can earn you $1 million GCI in a year. So like dealing with rookie agents, how to deal with them, dealing with experienced agents, how to deal with them, having sellers that want to overprice, having sellers that want to underprice, having sellers that don't want to change their price. Like literally every single possible scenario that you could think of is in there. Plus how to prospect organically, where you have to spend 0 ads. And each prospecting method, if you did it, is worth like 200 to 300,000 a year. There's 5 of them. So like it's just super simple, easy, and that's Alpha Agents.
Okay, so that's awesome. I have one question. You said, your first month you started out and you went door knocking. So
yeah.
What did you say? What is your approach with door knocking?
Like today or back then?
I feel like today, because it may not be relevant to what you used to do, right?
No, of course not. I had no clue what I was doing. So what happened is, like, as I started to get a little bit more business smarts and the community started growing up, I really focused on every single activity I did had to do 2 things. What's the intent of the activity and how do I max out the ROI? That was everything that I did, right? So if I'm going to be door knocking, what's the intent of door knocking? I'm like, okay, well, for me, it's for listings. So if I'm going to go for listings, how do I max out the ROI? We can only invest two things, time or money. Time is the most precious asset that we have. So if I'm going to be investing my time, I need a good return. So I tried so many different things for door knocking. Like if you could think of one, I've done it. And I didn't just do it one time. I was door knocking 100 to 300 doors every day that I went out. So it's not like I just did 20 doors or 50 doors and said this doesn't work. I would do like thousands of doors and be like, okay, this is not working, but this did, and I would adjust.
Shawn, let's say that again. How many doors were you knocking on every day? Because I think this is really important for agents to know.
Yeah, the minimum was 100. Yeah, that was like that. I'm not even going if I'm not doing 100, and up to 300 is how far I would go. And 300 just, it takes all day. You're literally knocking all day. But the thing is I understood that this business is a seesaw. So if I've got a lot of customers, I can't prospect much. I had no fucking customers, so I had to prospect a lot. So my whole day was just based around prospecting, right? And I knew that if I did the work, I would gain the skills. And if I gained the skills, the results would start to come. So I didn't care about the outcome. I just cared about doing the work. It's the only thing that mattered to me. So still today, it's the exact same. Like I've got my ops manager. She was getting all flustered one day and I'm like, hey, just stop. Like, it's okay. Like just focus on the task and let's get really good at this task. And might take us a month. It might take us a year, but we're going to keep doing it and we're going to be amazing at it. And then we're going to move from there. So yeah. So anyways, so what I learned for open houses is the absolute best strategy. There's two, but they revolve around an open house. So the easiest one is knocking for an open house and you just invite the neighbors in. So simple, right? So you just knock on the door and I always start with a quick joke. I'm like, hey, I'm not here to sell you any knives, water machines, or solar systems. My name's Shawn. I'm a realtor. We've got an open house down the road and I'm just inviting all the neighbors in. And they're going to look at you like you're crazy because they live in the neighborhood. And you're like, I understand you don't want to move. It looks like you have a beautiful house here. But if you hand the flyer and if you have any friends, family, or coworkers that you want to be your neighbor, this is a beautiful house and we'd love if you bring them by. And they're like, okay, cool, thank you. And then as they close the door, you're like, oh, by the way, how long have you lived here for? And that question opens the door to us searching for current pain because we need to find current pain so that we can give them future promise. And if we give them future promise of a better life, then we can help them out. So when I'm asking them how long they lived here for, I'm seeing if they lived there for 3 years or more because we know that most people move every 3 to 5 years. Does that make sense? So if they said, oh, we just moved to the neighborhood, I'm like, okay, cool, enjoy, here's your flyer. If they're like, oh, we've been here for 6 years. I'm like, oh, you're overdue to move. Something happened here, right? There's something probably happened and you just haven't executed the move. So they said, oh, I've been here for 6 years. I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. I'm like, okay, what brought you into this neighborhood? It's a beautiful neighborhood. It's got all these parks, amenities, whatever. They're like, oh, yeah, we moved here because my kids go to school and we wanted them to be in a good school. I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm like, well, is that still true today? Are they still in the school? And they'd be like, oh, no, they graduated and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, crazy. I'm like, oh, so you probably got this big ass house that are you really using all of it anymore? And then I start digging into the current pain of what it is. And then I talk about the market. I'm like, hey, do you know what's happened in the market in the last couple of years? I'm like, you're probably double what you paid for this thing. I'm like, what, really? I'm like, let's just say your dream life, your dream neighborhood. Where would you move right now? And they'd say, whatever, right? Whatever neighborhood. I'm like, okay, well, do you know how much equity you have right now? You could probably buy in that neighborhood and then you don't have to deal with all of these things. And then I would go in and do a CMA right there and show them how much their house is worth. And then sometimes you get a listing right then and there. Sometimes you got to follow up a couple of times and going back in there. But it's amazing. And you use the open house because it's such a non-aggressive, non-abrasive way to find out how long they've been there for and if they've got any current pain in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And
so
do you have a strategy like what doors you're hitting for an open house? Like, do you have like, 2 blocks this way or
no, I'm just not
that way?
Okay. Oh, not 2 blocks. We're going like dozens of blocks. I want the whole neighborhood, right? Because what happens is a lot of people don't understand open house. We want traffic into it, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But we want the neighbors because the neighbors are your next listing, right? You can go down any street in Spring and every single street has one or two for sale signs. All the neighbors are selling. So I just want to get to know them so that I can be the one that helps them when it's time to sell, right? I want the nosy neighbors. I want them to come in. I want them to feel welcome. So that's the one time we ask, or we knock. It takes me like a little bit longer to explain it, obviously, like in detail, but that's kind of the one side.
Yeah.
And then the other time is when we're knocking for a buyer that wants to be in the community. And no matter what, it doesn't matter if the market's high or low or up or down, this works super well because either there's too much inventory that people don't like, or there's not enough inventory and people can't get in. Like it's one of the two, right? So when you're knocking the door, so we work in open house, we get a bunch of buyer leads, and then I go back and I knock the exact same doors, right? Hey, remember me? Still no knives, water machines, or solar systems. That realtor that invited you in for the open house. It went so well. There were so many people that were trying to buy it. We have a ton of residual buyers. They are super, super hungry to get into this neighborhood, and they're going to pay top dollar. If you were thinking of selling your house, I don't even need to list it. I can get you the best price possible, and you don't even have to clean or get ready or nothing. Right. And then, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. And then I'll schedule a time to come through and I'll bring through 5, 6, 7 buyers from the open house. And then those ones we often double end without even have to go on market.
Love it.
So yeah, it works really well. Like it works. It's I talk to agents all the time. I said, do you want later business or today business? And the ones that need today business, door knocking, like if you go and you knock every week and you do 100 doors a day, you've got a listing 100%.
Yeah, I always tell the girls in my downline that, because there's agents that are like, oh, I'm not doing any business, I need money. And I say to them, guys, if I needed money today, I would be out knocking on doors. Why aren't you doing that?
100%.
But that's not what they want to hear.
But everyone, they want to get so fancy and so romantic, and I'm building a brand and I'm doing the cards and look at my new logo, and
nobody cares.
Like all those stuffs are like a 1 out of 10. Yeah, it's like it's not relevant to the business. You know how my last business card? It was like 3 years ago. I have not had business cards for 3 years. Yeah, I don't even know what my logo looks like. I don't even care. My open house signs are ones that I bought from $5 from a realtor that was exiting the business. I bought them for $5 each. It still has their name and phone number on it. I don't care. Right? As long as it says open house and there's an arrow, that's all I need.
You're so funny. So what does your team look like now?
There's all kinds of variation. So at the moment, it's me, an ops manager, 2 admins, 2 ISAs, and 8 agents.
Nice. Are you doing
we're prepping?
Sorry, Shawn. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we're prepping for some growth. Like I've purposely not brought anybody on for a few months because I'm learning so much going to all these seminars. So I'm like, let me pause. And like, this is something that's super important for people listening to this one is you need to pause and you need to really think about what you're doing and if it's working or if it's not working and how you can do it better, right? Like so many times we learn something and we're all excited because we learned it and then we don't put it into our schedule, we don't put it into practice, and we don't change anything. So for me, like I was just at a conference, I'm like, holy shit, like I just learned 10 years worth of stuff. I told my ops manager, go stop everything. I go, whatever we're doing, stop. Let's start seeing how we can put this into our schedules, put it into our agent schedules, and then go from there. And then once we have that, then we open the doors again, right? So yeah, we'll see what spring looks like, but we're totally set to bring on like 30 to 50 agents is what we want to do now. So, and we've got systems in place for, we bring on another 10 agents, we bring on this much staff, we bring on this. And, so we'll see. So 8 at the moment, 8. Yeah.
I love it. I didn't enjoy running a team when I had my team. I hated it. It wasn't for me. It was.
Teams are really.
Yeah. Do you know what my ideal team looks like? My team looks like me and as many admins and ISAs that I need to limit my activity to being in front of my clients. And then some referral agreements with buyer agents. That's all I'm interested in at this point. But I'm super busy with the AI stuff too, right? Like as of right now, I'm co-listing all of my stuff, commercial and residential, so that because I need my time for the consulting and the program, which is great. It's just the
Totally.
pivot, right? Like just pivoting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We have a girl out here, Tanya Eklund. One of the most incredible people I've ever run into. Uh, she does over 300 luxury deals a year with her team, and it's her and a bunch of ISAs. And I think she's got a couple agents that she hands off some buyer leads to. But she's built exactly the team that you want, like exactly. So you should look her up and connect. She's amazing, actually.
Right? I feel like that's my just personal preference. I just, you know.
Totally, yeah. She was actually one of the speakers at the first Alpha Agents event, and we're like we talk about whatever, right? And she sees me growing a team and stuff, and she's like, I do not want anything that you want. She's like, I'm so happy with the team the way it's set up. I've got an amazing work-life balance. She's got a huge income. She works mostly inner city, so she ain't got to drive too far. So yeah, like if that's the business you want, be intentional with it and get after it. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk social media because that's another free way of prospecting. Uh, I
Mhm.
I have my own, tips around social media. First of all, your Facebook, your personal Facebook being the largest database of people that know you and like you. So why aren't you working at like a database? And you've got some interesting tips. So like give us some goodies. What do you got?
Yeah, I would say like nothing I have is a tip. It's all strategy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I had to use social media. I hated it when I started, and like how you speak about things matters. I had to train myself to like it first, and then start working it. But I remember when I started getting listings, I had no money to advertise them, right? I couldn't run any promotions or any ads. So I'm like, oh shit.
Mhm.
I'm like, I have to do more than the MLS. Why wouldn't they just do a list for free or 2% commission or one of those things, right? So I just started thinking of how I can get the most exposure possible for my listings. And by doing that, it ended up developing strategies that just amplified my business absolutely through the roof. So one of the simple ones that I talked about at the last event we were at is Facebook Marketplace.
Mhm.
It's amazing, Facebook Marketplace. One second. Sorry, this is my life.
It's all our lives, don't worry.
Yeah. Um, so Marketplace is a huge one. I've never done less than 20 deals a year out of Marketplace. We have this other one called a boomerang, which is just how you could bring a bunch of customers back to you through other people's spheres. And it's all just super stuff like asking people to share your listing on their stories, and then through there you kind of negotiate different conversations. And it'll take me a little bit too long to explain them all, but yeah, they're all in Alpha Agents. They're all completely detailed. They're all completely dialed in. And so, like when I started with social media, I had 280 followers. That's it.
Yeah.
And from there, I was doing something that I didn't know what it was. We call it the social media blitz now. But I was growing my account organically in the communities that I wanted to work in with the exact people that I wanted to work with. Like it was so perfect. So now when people want to work with me, it's funny. Like Max, who's one of my main guys here, he always talks shit about it, but like I have people in my DMs like 3, 4, 5 times where I've never responded to them, and they're like, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. Hey, I want to buy a house. Hey, can you go show me this house? Hey, I know you're really busy, but I really want to work with you. Can you please book a showing for this house?" I'm like, "Oh shit, sorry, I missed all those DMs." Like, yeah, let's go. Or like same thing for selling a house. Like that's how powerful of a community that you can build, and we do that through a thing called social media blitz. Like, can you imagine if you never had to follow up with anybody ever, and they were multiple messaging you to work with you?
I can.
How crazy that sounds.
I've
Yeah,
run
oh
my
yeah, you would know.
entire business through my social media for 14 years. So yeah, I've never
So you would know.
I've dabbled in other forms of prospecting, but like that's been my constant. I think maybe like 98% of my business has come through social media. And I like it for the reason that you're talking about right now. People are asking to work with me. I'm not chasing leads. I'm not calling people that don't want to be called. I'm not, knocking on doors and interrupting people's days. I am creating content that's resonating with somebody, and then they're reaching out to me.
Yep.
So it's my
100%.
favorite.
So, but it's like a double-edged sword right now with people, because I'm watching a lot of people's content, and in my opinion, it's like super detrimental to their business the way that I see it. So I see people doing like a lot of the TikTok type posts where they're one, making fun of their customers. I can't believe I'm seeing this, but like they're making fun of buyers or making fun of sellers, or how like, if you don't have a pre-approval, don't call me. I'm like, holy like you just ostracized like so many people. Like, why would you say that, right? Or you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So it's just not value based, and it's not service based. It's like it needs to be value. It needs to be service. It needs to be how we can help them, not how they can help us make a commission. I'm like, you guys are just doing this so backwards, in my opinion. Maybe there's someone out there crushing it with it, but I personally haven't come across it yet. So yeah, but social media, it's amazing. The thing is people think that they're going to make 2-3 posts and get a deal, and you're not. So if you're just starting, or if you're struggling, you need to do the day-to-day things that'll get you today business while you build your audience, community, and brand online. So
Yeah.
it's like, if you don't have any deals, you don't have anything in the pipeline, you got to make those calls, you got to knock those doors, you got to work those opens while you're building the online stuff, because it takes
Yeah.
time. Like I've had so many people, it's like 6 months at least till you start seeing deals out of Instagram, like at least 6 months.
I have some clients getting like 2 months, 3 months. So that's pretty good, but I have them on a super aggressive and specific schedule. Um,
Yeah, same
but
with
yeah,
us. It
as soon as
just
they
it's
stop posting, because like people are going through waves. There's not a lot of people that are super consistent. And then they come back and they're like, I didn't post for a month, and I saw, like I can feel it right now. So it's like any prospecting method. If you want to see consistent results, you have to be consistent with it, right? You can't just, there's no magic button here. Social media is another job in itself, just like door knocking would be like your part-time to full-time job. So it's social media. I just
yep.
yeah, I got a little bit worried because so I've been on Instagram with my business since it was just pictures, and everybody's like, who does she think she is with these pictures looking whatever? You know what I mean? Like, this was 14 years ago. So I got a lot of slack for it.
Yeah.
But I was just consistent, and I had calls to actions back then, and I was one of the only realtors in my city using Instagram. So it was a no-brainer.
Cool.
I was just freaking cleaning up, right? And then my following was growing and growing and growing. We switch over to video. I figure out the video thing. Okay, education and entertainment, education, entertainment. And then when I shifted, when I built my new business, which is the AI consulting, I completely stopped targeting buyers and sellers with my content. I'm sure you can see, you follow me. I don't target buyers and sellers. So I did a total 180 at one time. And people that are like, that ask me about my coaching, they're like, oh, well, it's easy for you because you have a large audience. You already have your brand. You already have your audience. And I'm like, fuck, maybe they're right, And then when I did that switch up, I stayed true to my plan and my strategy. I just changed the content to focus and target realtors instead of buyers and sellers. Within 30 days, I was getting 100 agent followers a week and making some pretty insane money organically just from my posts. So now I can confidently say my fucking strategy works, because I literally just started it from scratch all over again, and we're good. So,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Because you wonder, when you've been doing this for a long time, like me, there is an advantage to somebody who gets in onto these platforms and they're the first ones to do it. There's a serious advantage to that. So I thought, oh,
Huge.
well, do I really know what I'm doing, or did I just get into it at the right time? Do you know what I mean? But that totally reinforced that my strategy is like, you know what I mean? So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's awesome.
yeah, I love it. We should collab. We should do something. Shawn, we should do some lives. Okay. So like, here's my tip for everybody. Okay. Your posts and your videos and everything is great to build your audience and to build trust. But my lives are what brings in the leads, like the immediate clients. So, yeah, TikTok and Instagram. Do you have 1,000 followers on TikTok? So we can do either. No. Okay, so let's do
I don't think so.
Instagram, because it's where people can actually interact with you in real time and they feel way more comfortable. It just gives them
No.
a different level of comfort being on a live, watching you on a live, being able to ask you questions right there. So I think we should do it. I think we should do one once a month. Just be like, hey, jump on Instagram.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'm
you know,
almost 30. We're almost there.
and yeah, realtors can ask us questions about social media or whatever. You know what I mean? How do you feel about that?
Yep. Super game. 100%.
That's perfect. You're gonna love it. You're gonna get addicted to it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Calgary right now. So I'm in Toronto. Well, I'm in Niagara, Hamilton area. And things have slowed down here, obviously, because the interest rate is starting. I'm feeling, because I do have active listings, even though I'm not really working a lot anymore, I'm feeling like the buyers are coming back to the market. Like I'm getting showing after showing after showing again. And it just picked up in the last couple of days. So I'm kind of wondering, what are you seeing in Calgary?
Totally. Well, we just had the rate announcement, right, 2 days ago. So that anytime that's positive news, you always get a bunch of buyers back in the market.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for Calgary's nuts. Like Calgary's insane. It's voted one of the best places in the world to live, one of the cleanest airs and waters in the world. Affordability is huge. Job opportunity is huge. It's an amazing place to live, and so many people are moving here. We had almost 100,000 positive migration, people positive migration last year in Alberta. So if you can imagine that many people moving in here, we can't build that many houses. So the real estate market is very strong here. So we're loving it.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah,
I actually know some builders because I did a lot of pre-con and pre-COVID. I did a lot of pre-con on the buyer end. So some of my builder contacts are moving out to Calgary and Edmonton. I should hook you up with them.
Yeah, I would love to. That'd be awesome.
Right?
Yeah, there's so much opportunity here. It's crazy. Like for flips, for builds, for infills, for big developments, like everywhere. And I just saw actually we have the most new active cranes in North America this last month. So when you look around, like if you can't see out this window, but there's just cranes everywhere right now. So all these buildings are coming up.
Question, what's the average sale price in Calgary?
In the mid 600s.
Wow. Love it.
Right?
I love that.
Isn't that crazy?
And you know what, another advantage, I just want to bring up another advantage because and maybe if I'm wrong, correct me, but in Ontario, we have really effed up landlord and tenant board act and like rights. It's a mess. I currently alone have 2 vacant properties that I'm considering selling because I'm afraid to put tenants in there because we have no rights as landlords. And what we're seeing a lot of here, which is obviously contributing to the high inventory, which doesn't help when we have a low amount of buyers, right, is a lot of investors and landlords are offloading their properties for this reason. So I've heard that Calgary, it's the opposite. It's like the Wild West out there. And if you have a shitty tenant, you can get them out. Is this true? Tell me about that, because I feel like I'd have a lot of investors listening to this who are like, damn, I'm moving my assets to Calgary.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually have a lot of people moving their stuff to Calgary because one thing, our market's coming up. Most of the other markets are on their way down, right? Because like Toronto, you guys have had 2 up cycles. Like cycles are usually 7 years. You guys have had 2 up cycles in a row. We just came out of a huge negative cycle. So we're on the way up. A lot of other markets are on the way down. But yeah, so dealing with tenants, they still have rights, of course, but not nearly as much as over there. There's no rent control at all. So if you want to double the rent 1 month, you can. Obviously at the end of the term, right? And yeah, most people you can have out of the house within 3 months if you're having a problem. So it's not as difficult to kick a bad tenant out for sure. But yeah, we're seeing a ton of investors coming here for rental properties. It's huge.
Right. Okay. Well, I know where I'm sending them, Shawn.
We also, yeah, thank you. Another big one is we don't have land transfer tax. So a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, very.
Because over there, it's like $60,000 for land transfer tax. Yeah, it doesn't exist. We don't have it.
I love it. Maybe I should sell my income properties here and just buy in Calgary. Do you know a good property management company?
Yes, we can hook you up with everything. But imagine, yeah, right? And like stuff actually cash flows here, right? So like if you're putting 20% down, it'll cash flow. In Toronto, it's like, oh, you're only losing 500 a month. It's fine. Like that is a horrible. Like, I see people losing 2,000 a month on their investment property. I'm like, what investment is this that you're losing money every month and equity, right?
Well, this has been great, Shawn. I really appreciate you coming on. I feel like our realtor listeners got a lot of information, especially about, prospecting and when they're first starting out, especially because I know agents are just lost in general. And now our investor listeners know where they need to buy their investment properties. So thank you so much, Shawn. And I will see you on a live next week.
Deal. Book us in.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Gary. Okay.
Okay, Shawn.
Bye-bye.